I just say fuck my life way too much. Your other catchphrases, I'm sorry, but you're not sorry at all. You're not sorry, no, you're not sorry. Sounds polite.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Daily Dog Walk. I think we're on episode 9. No, I've lost track. But today it's just going to be me today, and I want to tell you a story. This story is a story I used to actually tell quite often. It's not something I talk about at all anymore. I think as you grow older, your memory changes and you start to normalize things. But what happened to me wasn't very normal. It wasn't very normal at all. And now I have my own family, I realise just how unnormal it really was. So before I continue, I'd like to just a quick disclaimer that this episode talks about child abuse, and it also touches on the care system as well. So if you're triggered by either one of those, just be warned. And I suppose you don't really notice like the drama and the chaos until you're removed from those situations. So I think what I want to do is I want to start again, like I say, I always start at the beginning. So I want to start really at my beginning. I think we've already touched on that in previous episodes of the podcast where I've told you about how my grandmother kicked me out a few weeks before Christmas to go back and live with my mum. And when she did that, you may think, oh, she must have had a reason to kick you out. Why did she kick you out? And no, there was no, I wasn't a bad child. And I think I've been trying to repeatedly, say this. I was not a bad child. She did not kick me out because I was, not going to school, stealing, doing all that. No, I wasn't a bad child. I mean, yeah, maybe I skipped a few lessons. I was doing the things that all normal teenagers were doing. I was just then being labelled a bad child. So, maybe not all teenagers are doing that kind of stuff, but this was the 90s, 85% of us were. So, anyways, it doesn't say it makes it right. I'm just saying I wasn't a bad kid, okay? But she kicked me out. And when I moved back in with my mum promised me one thing, that she would never lay hands on me. And I believed her. I wanted to believe her so much. I just wanted a relationship with her. And I had been bumping into my mum in the street over the few months before I moved back in with her. I'd been bumping into her in the street. And even though she wasn't able to have any contact with me, I was happy to see my mum. And she'd take me and buy me something, or, like take me out for lunch, or, buy me something from this paper shop, or, and she was nice. And I really wanted that relationship. And that's when I went to my nan, and my nan said, your mum never loves you, and proceeded to scream at me for, how dare she ask. But I had, because that's what I wanted. So my nan told me to go back and live with her. If you want a relationship with her so much, go back and live with her. So I did. And my promise, and when I went back to live with my mum promised she would never lay hands on me. Now, what happened? Well, it started gradually. And the first month was normal. It was really normal. I actually started to do the normal things and push boundaries with my mum a little bit. My mum knew I smoked, so things like that were an issue. I didn't have to hide smoking. I didn't lie. I just didn't lie. I just wasn't that kind. I was just honest to a fault. And that was the beginning of my downward spiral, I suppose, because my mum had made me feel comfortable. She'd created this false sense of, yeah, of course, I'm never going to hit you. And yeah, of course I'm cool. You can have your friends over and you can do this and you can stay. Because I said to her, I have when I move back in, I'll move back in, but I don't want my freedom to be taken away. I will still want to, I'll do the housework, I'll do my chores, I'll go to school, I'll do all of that. But please allow me to stay out, go out with my friends until 10 o'clock or, And she was like, yeah, I'm not going to take any of that away from you. and it just happens gradually. All of those, I wouldn't even call them privileges, just normal things, were taken away bit by bit. And I can't remember the reasons why, because first I'd ask if I could go out and she'd say yes and I'd go. The next time it was, no, you have to be back by this time for no real reason. And I respected that, and I respected it, and I would come home. I wouldn't, argue with her around it. My mum's not somebody you could argue with, because she'd go straight to violence. So she says no. No means no, and you don't push it any further. And even if my friends were there and started begging, I'd get beaten for it later, not in front of them. So I'd have to look at my friends and go, don't ask, don't, please. Petrified. Now my friends knew after a while not to. But one time I got a boy ask me out, and I was at home and I said no, obviously I said no, because my mum wouldn't let me go out with a boy. And I was at home and I was in the bath and I had a knock at the door, and he'd knocked on my door and asked my mum if he could take me out. Now he was an older boy. It was about 2 years. He was 2 years older, but still, he was an older boy. And he was asking my mum's daughter, so I take my mum's daughter out, which for my mum was, I couldn't have boyfriends, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup, I wasn't allowed to have any kind of self or individuality. So definitely couldn't have boyfriends. And I was so scared in that bath, thinking, oh my God, do you not know my mum? Everybody knows, you don't ask, you're going to get me in so much trouble. And my mum was really, surprisingly, out of character. She came upstairs and she obviously said no. And she came upstairs and explained to me, I really respected that, and but no, you're never, and why is he an older boy, and Anyways, I didn't get beaten for it, but it went against my character. Even though I didn't even like this boy. Can I just say as well, for the record, I did not like this boy. There was nothing, I wasn't disappointed that my mum had, I was really happy actually, because I didn't fancy him. There was nothing there between us. I wasn't like, oh no, what a shame. Well, I was like, oh no, what a shame, because no, okay. Anyways, he was just trying his luck. So there was incidents, I'm just building a picture here. But what started to happen, I remember we had a trivial argument the first month. We were on the stairs and she went to hit me, and I was so proud of myself. I was so proud. She went to hit me and I grabbed her hand and I went, and I shouted at her, you don't touch me, don't hit me. I was so freaking proud of myself for doing that. Oh God, it feels like a lifetime ago. So proud. Because it'd been 3 or 4 weeks she hadn't hit me. Hadn't tried, and this is the first time she tried, and I'd stopped it. I was like, yeah. Oh, well, little did I know. And she acted like she respected me for that. No, she was testing the waters. And after that, she realised that it wasn't just physical with me, that I'd got this confidence and power in life, and she knew she had to break me. She had to break my will. And that's what started to happen. So then, she was asking me to come home earlier. And then when I came home, she'd asked me to take my shoes off and lock the doors. She'd escalate the violence, so it was irrational. One time I put a glass in the sink, and a fist came from nowhere for that one. A glass in the sink, because I didn't clean it up. And this kept happening. One Saturday, I wasn't allowed to go out with my friends, just to go to the shops, to hang out in the town. I had to stay home and wash the walls, And even, my mum went out and she'd gone out for the day. you know. So, and now these might seem really trivial little things, but it's the fear that my mum was instilling around me. It was the fear that I came home and I was just scared as soon as I walked in the door, because she was looking for something that I had done wrong, even though I hadn't even been there, so that she could beat me. And it was just getting worse, and it was getting worse, and then I just wasn't going out. Now, when I did go out, yes, I had boyfriends, and I did do the things that she asked me not to do. Why? Because it was irrational. It was absolutely irrational. She just didn't want me to be happy. And yeah, you're probably thinking, well, it's your mum, you should do as your mum tells you to do. She was crazy. She was irrational. Trust me. And yeah, so I had boyfriends that I wasn't allowed to have. My mum found out about one particular boy who was a little bit older than me. And she came down to school and just decided to beat me up in front of everybody. That was fun. So she really escalated the violence up because she didn't care who she freaking did it in front of. She started doing it, you know. And it got scary. Then she started using what's called weapons. I don't know. The belt came out again, and sticks coming out, and you just never knew when it was going to come. And she didn't believe a word that came out of my mouth, even though I didn't lie. Remember, I didn't lie. I never lied. I did alluded truth sometimes, so I never lied. So I maybe didn't tell her that I was going to town to see the boyfriend. I never did, but I told her where I was going. You know, I didn't lie. And if he wasn't my boyfriend, he wasn't my boyfriend. It was just somebody that I was snogging at that time. So I'm not lying, technically. But yeah. But why did I have boyfriends? And friends, even for that. She didn't want me to even have friends. She used to slag my friends off all the time. Just make my scare my friends, call them funny names. She was inappropriate and rude to them. She was just horrible. And you know, it's like really explaining it now. I can't really explain the fear that I had. You just know it, you feel it. And my mum's got that negative, real dark negative energy. But I felt that she wanted to kill me. I can't explain it. Yeah, she was cruel and she was mean, and you know. But I remember social services coming over one day, and social services, you know, obviously they'd spoken to me at school. They knew about it was getting worse. So they sent somebody over, and my mum sat in that living room telling them, I know I've got a problem. I know I need help. I don't want to hurt her. Da, 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 da. And this is when I knew that I was in trouble. Because when I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. My mum's, you know, acknowledging it, and she's amazing, you know, she's going to turn a corner. So the social worker left, and my mum goes, I was on the stairs, she goes, you heard all of that, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I did. She was like, well, I was only telling them what they wanted to hear. Ain't nothing going to change for you. So now she's, yeah. So she just didn't like me. I'm probably, you know, I don't know, but my heart hurt and I felt scared all the time. She just wanted me to feel fear. She just wanted me to fear her. And if I was a bad kid who was always doing naughty things, I still couldn't even understand that, but I wasn't. Just wanted to do well in school and go out and have fun with my friends, and I wanted them to be proud of me. So I'd always be doing things, you know, volunteering and just doing things to try and make people proud, because I thought that's what people wanted, you know. And, I don't know. Anyways, I'm actually not crying in this episode. Yeah. Anyways, so that was 6 months. 6 months of it happened. It was gradual, but the bruising and the pain, I don't want to say the pain, but the physical bruises were evident every day. And the school had noticed my attitude, and everything was going downhill. I was cutting school, I'm not going to lie, I was cutting school all the time. Of course I was. She was turning me into that bad child. And you know what the turning point was? Because I could see it. I could see me turning into a degenerate in front of my eyes. And I didn't want to be a degenerate. I didn't want to be. I had a job. I had my own job, you know, already, and I stayed at school and helped, and I did volunteering at social services. I didn't want to be a degenerate. I wanted a good job. I wanted to do well. But every time I went to live with my mum, my grades went down, and I couldn't sustain it because I was just scared all the time. I didn't want to go home. Well, I volunteered. That's why I stayed at school. So I decided the only way, and I thought at this point, I thought my mum was going to kill me as well, that the only way I was going to have any kind of future is if I left. But the problem I had is my nan told me not to go back. If I went to my mum, well, she told me she was going to my mum and I couldn't come back. So what do I do? What do I do? So I had a best friend who went through all of this with me. And I'm going to shout out to her now. We don't speak now, which is really sad in itself. But I think that's down to PTSD for her, I think, you know, because everything I went through, she went through. And she was there through all of it. The day that my nan kicked me out, I was at her house. I didn't know, we had no idea. I was at her house because I was upset because we'd had an argument, and she had no idea I was going to go home and my bags were going to be packed. But she had to deal with the aftermath of all of that. The day that I decided to go into care, who do you think was the first person who I was talking to who knew what the plan was? Who do you think said, I'm there, I'm cutting school too, I'll meet you here, I'm going with you? She did. You know, do you think I could have done this just on my own? No. I had solid friends back then, which makes it even more painful, the fact that, you know, well, I lost contact and I moved, you know, and I did what I did by cutting ties with the whole, you know, a whole town. But that was my trauma response, you know, that was my protection. And her protection is probably trying to forget all of that shit. It was a fucking shit show. So, but she was there. She, you know, she went through it all with me. And I remember calling her the night before. She might have to correct me, but I'm sure I called her the night before and told her my plans. Mum had beaten me up pretty badly. I think, I'm not sure if she met me from school. I think it might have been that day. My mum worked nights. Did she work nights at the time? I think she did. So I made the plans while she wasn't there. After she'd gone to work, called my friend and told her what I'm going to be myself. I need to be myself. I can't live here. My mum's going to kill me. I need to, you know, I'm going into care. I'm putting myself into care. I can't stay here. I don't care where I go. And my friend was, you know, like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, well, don't think so. I can't go back to my nan's. I don't even know if social services will take me, but this is the only option I've got. So we agreed to meet the following morning, just before school. So about 8 o'clock. And we'll go straight to the social services office. So do you know what I did that morning? That morning, I look very much similar to that morning, actually. I probably look near enough the same, apart from a few more extra wrinkles. This is exactly what I did. I put my hair and my makeup on. Just this hairstyle too. I probably looked a bit better because I made more effort back then. And I put my makeup on, even though I wasn't allowed to wear makeup because she didn't want me to look like me. And I put my makeup on, and I wanted to walk out of that house as me. I had this polka dot, like 50s style dress, like blue, it was navy blue and white. I loved it. And I got dressed. I packed what I could take with me, and just a small bag. And I left. And I went to the social services office, and I went to the reception area. Now, people have their opinions on social services, and I've been in, well, I've had a social worker since I was 8 years old. Been involved in social services since then. So, but didn't go into care until this moment. And I was 14. It was 2 weeks before my 15th birthday. So I went into the reception and basically had bruises up my arm, scratches all down my neck and bruising. And everybody knows me in social services. You remember I volunteer, and you know, I near enough lived in that office, so everybody knew me. So they knew me and they were like, go home, darling. Why aren't you at school? what do you mean, why are you at school? And after I showed her all my bruises. Now, at first, the receptionist wasn't even willing to call down my social worker. But after I refused to leave the premises, she called her down. And when she called her down, she did the same thing. Go to school. What are you doing, darling? Da, 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 da. Oh. And I was angry. What do you mean, what am I doing? I can't live with that woman anymore. I don't care where you put me. You're going to have to put me somewhere because I'm not going home. I'm just not going. I remember this receptionist said to me, we're going to call your mum. And I was like, and I think I said, oh my God, don't call her. Just put me in, just get me away from her. And they go, we're going to have to call your mum. She's going to have to come down here. I said, and this is the moment where I said, if you call my mum and she comes down there, she will beat me up. Because I know my mum, that was her default with me. And the woman on reception said, no, God, she wouldn't do that. God, no. Okay, so this is where I'm saying irrational. Okay. Yeah, because most people wouldn't do that, would they? Because they wouldn't want to get arrested. And they know that it's not, it's the right thing to do. They wouldn't do it because they know it's not the right thing to do. Not my mother. Not my mum. So this is what she said in the social services office. Oh, you should never do that. Oh no. But this is what I'm talking about, irrational behaviour. So I knew she would. I knew she would. So my mum came down. They put me in a room with my social worker. It was a tiny little box room. I'll never forget. So you had the reception as you walked in. To the right-hand side, there was a tiny little sort of box room, sort of like an interview room. And there was a entrance as you went in, and then you could see there was a door, table and chairs, small little table, 3 chairs, but you could barely move in it. 3 people could barely move in that room freely. And then behind the one of the chairs was another door to exit back into the social services. So one was from the public side and one was in the social services offices. So I was put in there with my social worker, and obviously my social worker's trying to find out from me what's going on and what's happened. And I've told her, and I'm going through and showing her the bruises, and I'm just explaining I'm not living with that woman anymore. Like she hates me. She's just cruel. She's up to her violence is an aggression is just beyond anything I've ever experienced in my life. I just feel that she's going to kill me if I stay there. And I was just being told that don't be silly, she would never do that, and your mum's got problems, well, no, your mum's got problems, but along those lines, basically told to belt up and just get on with life, really. And with that, in the midst of this conversation where I'm trying to be consoled, but really I know I'm going to be told that I've got to go home with this lady, and I knew that it was coming. I could feel it. Nobody was taking this seriously. And the next thing, she comes bursting through the door, bursting. Now, I'm on the other side of the table when she comes through the door, so I'm on the side where the door is going into the social services, that leads into the social services offices. So you'd think I'd be safe because there's a table in front of me. My social worker's to the side of this table, my mum's in the front because she's just come through the entrance. And my mum just goes, she just looks at me with like she wants to kill me right there and then. Venom, it's unbelievable. And she just goes on a rant about how I'm dirty and disgusting because I don't clean my knickers after I go my period. Now, you remember, I'm a 14-year-old girl that's, needs to be taught this stuff by my mum, and, need patience and all of that. And this is my mum talking to me about it, And she talks about, how I'm disgusting, how I'm dirty, how I'm a bad kid, that I'm a liar. Just nasty things that you didn't expect your mum to say about you. Just horrible. And with that, I just looked at her. And I couldn't speak back to my mum. If I spoke back to my mum, I'd get smacked straight in the mouth all the time. It was just a reflex. Boom, boom, boom. That was a reflex. So I learned to stay quiet, observe, and just stay quiet all the time. But I was 14. I'd stopped being that kid, and but there I was again, keeping my mouth dumb. I'd learned to be that kid again, and it came from nowhere. I don't even know where it came from. I just looked up and looked at her. All that fear had gone. Yeah, because I probably felt safe because, not because there was a table in front of me. I knew she'd have me anyways. I just had enough. I'd had enough. What else can happen to me? So I did. I just said it. You are nothing but a nasty, ignorant bitch. That's what I said. Do you know what? I'm going to have that in a plaque somewhere, because that is I'm never going to forget saying that. It was the feeling and how it felt saying it after all that time. I just can't. If anything's going to make me cry, it's going to be that, thinking back at that, actually. But I'm not. I'm strong. But that's what I said to her. You are nothing but a nasty, ignorant bitch. And as I said that, I still don't regret it, despite knowing what happened next. Still don't regret it. Best beating of my life, that was. And that's what happened. I said it, and when I said it, as I said it, I had a bun on my head, just like this, same. And she reached over the table, launched herself over the table, grabbed me by my hair. Oh, she didn't grab me back. She bashed me off the wall, off the table, off the wall. Oh, she beat me. With the social worker there, buzzer was called, security came running in. When again, more scratches, more, she was going for me. So obviously, they got me out the back door. I was just behind me, got her off me, she got detained. And I got put into care. Literally instantaneously. Pulled me out the back, brought my friend, she was in the reception, out with me. And that, there it is. Now, it wasn't happy. Do you know what I mean? Don't think this is not happy. This is where I could get upset a little bit here. Because it wasn't, yay! My life was so uncertain after that. But I am getting upset. Fuck me. How can I get upset about something? My life's certain now. I know what happened. I'm still getting upset. But I still remember how I felt. And I remember being happy because I remember smirking. I smirked. I felt guilty for smirking because I thought I didn't want people to think I was manipulating the situation, because I hadn't. It was what it was. But I smirked because I just knew what she was. I knew she was just, I knew she was going to do it, basically. I knew it. But after that, I didn't know what came next. I was scared, really scared. And alone, really alone. So, anyways, regardless of the feelings, I did get put into a emergency care situation. I got put with a family that day. And I pretended to be really strong and really mature, like I always did, masking again. But I wet the bed that night. I remember writing a letter, and I can't find that letter. I don't know where it's gone. For this moment, I wrote that letter for this moment, and I can't find it. I've probably lost it. It's been so long, but it was a letter to myself, and it was basically, me telling myself that it's okay and that I was proud of myself and that it's going to be okay no matter what happens next. We've got this. I didn't ever want to forget that feeling. I didn't want to forget how low or how sad I was ever, because I wanted to see how far I'd come. What I didn't know is that that feeling was going to stay with me. And that was the underlying feeling that I've had for the last 30 years. I didn't know that at the time. It was almost like cementing it that night in a stamp with that letter. And it was, but after that, I just had to be bravado, Alicia. Because that's all I had. All I had. And then, that's it. Now, don't get me wrong, my foster family were, were good people. They were good people, and they really tried their best and they accommodated me. Their children were a bit not so very friendly, actually. They seemed very exasperated, I'm not going to lie. Their children, they weren't very welcoming at all. Do you know that they had a son and they had daughters, and I don't think they liked me very much. I don't know why, because but this is the thing, like, they weren't very empathetic people. Their children weren't very empathetic. Sorry if you're listening to this, but it's the truth. You weren't. Come on, Loki, this way. They weren't at all. So on top of then going into care, I had to then deal with my new dynamics, which is weird. It's just really weird, because you'd think, people would be helpful and caring in a situation like that, but they weren't. Like, I went to school the next day, and somebody that I was friends with, who I'd known since I was at primary school, accused me of doing it on purpose so that I could move into that particular family house, because one of the sons that lived there, she had a crush on. Like, yeah, I just ruined my whole fucking life so that I could move in, because I knew that I was going to be put into that foster house, yeah? Like, but that's the shit that I went to school the next day and had to deal with. Oh. And then pretend that it's okay. I don't know what's, you go home to your mum and your dad and your nice family unit, and, with your life, do you know what I mean, all set out, because, but me, do you know what I mean, I go home to a bunch of strangers that I don't even know. Do you know what I mean? So again, what did I have to do? People please. I'm living in a bunch of strangers' house. Do you know what I mean? I want them to like me. I want them to believe that I'm not the fucking, the big old, remember the narrative that everybody else is saying about me? I need them to believe that I'm not that person. Yeah? So, what did I do? Overcompensate. People please. It was a nightmare. But, I did it. Look, my life changed. And can I say it changed for the better? Yeah, I think it did change for the better, but it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. But I had to weigh up pros and cons back then. And staying in an unsafe situation where somebody they didn't care about me or my safety, and they were trying to harm me. Seeing that every day and realising that I wasn't just having one bad day. This was my life now, and even it didn't matter, if I got older and moved out, because she was shaping my life for me then, and I had to escape that. And going into care, it was the only solution I had. And then I was punished for it. My grandma was angry that I put myself into care, even though, she didn't want me back. So, she was cold towards me after that. And then I just felt even more alone. And there's me then having to start building bridges with people who didn't have my back. Like, my nan expecting an apology. My nan expecting me to make an effort with her. Because I'd done something wrong. So, it was hard for me back then. And I chose to move to Cambridge after finishing school. I chose to move to Cambridge. I chose to move away from all of them. I chose me. And it was messy. It was really messy. But I could see that there was still, nobody who had my back. nobody who really cared. And I moved out of the care system after that. So they were a lovely family. They really had a lovely, but they weren't my family. And, you know, I think I did the best thing in reflection. I did the best thing for me. So that's my story. You know, I don't want to, it's not another pity party. It isn't, okay? But that's the beginning to end. I mean, I made a decision. I had to make a decision for me because nobody else around me was making decisions that were going to keep me safe. And I've been doing that all my life now. So, look, if you've ever been affected by child abuse, okay, we're all in this club together. My friend said this to me yesterday. You know, there's a club, and only, you know, only a small percentage of people will understand, you know, what it's like to be in that club, and you know, to understand, you know, the narrative. I don't say the narrative, but those feelings are deep, and they never go away. It's not a very nice club to be in, though, is it? But there we are, you know, we're all in it together. So look, if you have been affected by child abuse, or you've been affected by the care system at all, you know, I would love to hear your story. You know, we don't have to dwell, because I don't want my story to define me. My friend said this to me yesterday as well, and this is something that I've been sitting with as well. You know, my story has defined me though, and I tried to forget about it for such a long time that now I just, you know, want to embrace it a little bit and share it with others who've got similar stories or who are suffering, people who are suffering, and I don't know, they don't know why they're suffering. Because that happens, that really does happen. You know, we live every day and we plod along and we try and forget these things. But I've said this, and this is one of the main themes that I've said all the way through, is it's not healthy to forget. We should never forget, okay? We've just got to handle it. And this is another thing, I think we handle it together. We don't you know, we have to, doing it a lot on your own and isolating yourself is never the way. Doesn't matter how good that fun sometimes feels to get under a duvet, and you know, it's always good to connect. It's always good to talk. Always. Oh God, you know I was going to say that. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next episode of the Daily Dog Walk. And yeah, I'll finish telling you my story.
I just say fuck my life way too much. Your other catchphrases, I'm sorry, but you're not sorry at all. Sorry, no, I'm not sorry. That was polite.